Welcome to Season 2 of the Cryptopulse podcast, your ultimate guide to the world of crypto, Bitcoin, and world economics. We're here to guide you through the crypto universe with thought-provoking topics, in-depth knowledge, and information to help you make informed decisions. We'll also be interviewing some of the best minds in the industry, such as CEOs of crypto projects, traders, economists, authors, and development teams from around the globe. And now for the episode.
Hello and welcome back to the Cryptopulse podcast for another one of our weekly episodes about crypto and macroeconomics. Ben, great to see you once again. How has your week been?
My week has been good, thanks, and actually had a lovely morning. I woke up this morning, checked the charts, and saw a nice big green candle on the Bitcoin daily, which was a very rare thing to see these days, but quite welcomed.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I think the UK and a lot of the rest of the world are kind of mourning today with the passing of our amazing queen, and I think I had a really bad night's sleep because of it, and I feel there's some real sort of mourning energy in the air, and so particularly in the UK and obviously in other Commonwealth countries. And whether you're a royalist or not, and I don't think we are either of us a particular royalist, you have to completely respect the reign and the level of responsibility that she was burdened with, and the way that she carried out her duties was just so exemplary. And I don't think the royal family are perfect by any means, but I want to pay some respects to her. And it was, of course, really nice to see some positive price action amidst the sadness. So maybe we can talk a little bit about what's going on in the macro world and what might be causing this little pump, and is it going to be the start of something really positive for the crypto market?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Well, I mean, we have, of course, got the CPI announcement coming up within the next few days. I think the markets are anticipating that CPI number is going to be coming down in a meaningful way. I think we had a slight drop off last month. I think this month they're expecting it to be in the low 7%. And actually that's going to bring back some confidence to the markets, especially for risk assets, as people start to move back into equities and crypto. So, yeah, I think what we're seeing today is potentially just a precursor to the announcement, which is due to be made. Does it mean it's the end of the bear market and the start of a bull rally? I highly doubt it. I think we probably have a lot more sideways action through into 2023. But it is probably a sign that confidence is starting to return.
Yeah, I'm really split on this, and I know we both are. In fact, we had a conversation at dinner on Monday evening, I think, and I said my gut feeling is that the market goes lower. I think there's just too much really, really shitty macro factors that could cause that. I think we're going to have a pretty horrible winter, and things like energy prices and cost of living are going to continue to rise, and that it will just make things more difficult, especially for the retail investor market. And I think we might see another leg down before sometime next year we start to see a return to something that looks more like a bull market. But on the flip side of that, we have a situation where we've had quantitative tightening, and we may now see, as a result of energy prices and governments needing to support people in paying their energy bills and so on and so forth, that we see some kind of injection of money supply. And we saw what happened previously when you put more money in circulation, and that boosts equities and therefore the crypto market as well. I don't think it's going to be the level of stimulus that we saw for COVID, but I certainly think that could play part of the factor in potentially seeing some more positive price action. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. I think long term, nothing really seems to be changing with this macro backdrop. We talk about the war with Russia and Ukraine. That seems to be lending itself to the pressures on the energy market. I can't see that coming to an end anytime soon. The cost of goods is still soaring. Food is, becoming difficult to move around. So I think Yeah, I tend to agree. I think probably into 2023, we're still going to see, this bear market continue. I think within that, we will have bull rallies, as we always do, as sentiment sort of shifts. But I think those sort of years of optimism do feel like they're coming to an end. That tech bubble, which we've been in for the last 15 years, with, the mega tech companies like Amazon, Google, stock prices absolutely soaring. They're now starting to struggle. The demand which they were experiencing during, the sort of the noughties and the last sort of decade, that really is slowing down too. And of course, when you have periods of high inflation, consumer spending slows right down. That's why interest rates are typically hiked, is to sort of ease the economy off. I just don't see where this new growth is going to come from. Whenever I speak to sophisticated investors or people that are talking about macroeconomics, the thing that they're really excited about now is Web3 and Metaverse. It's sort of looking to the future of the technology industry and seeing where that's going to go, because I think that that's where the next wave of successful investors will be made. And it's certainly where I'm looking for my personal portfolio is, companies that are building really good, meaningful tech in that area.
Yeah, I agree. I think this new digital age, a bit like the dot-com era and a bit like the Web 2 social network era, will be the thing that drives the economy next. And I think we're probably going to really underestimate the amount of value that that's going to create. I think at the minute, you look at the facts, you look at the debt spiral that Greg Foss spoke about on our show, and many the DEBT spiral. Do the math. Yeah. Terrible Greg Foss impression.
That was awful, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe our producer will be kind and actually insert a Greg Foss snippet in there, or he could kind of just expose my terrible impression. We'll wait and see what the final edit comes out like.
Don't understand what I'm saying. You're stupid.
It's hard to see a way out of this. And I think that this is really bearish psychology at the minute. And I compare this to when tech equities and crypto are mooning, you just feel like, oh my God, we're so early. This could all go so much higher. This is just the beginning of the revolution. And then when you're in a really bearish mentality, you're thinking, well, how can this ever get better? So I think you have to check your thinking. And I think that, humans are amazing creatures, but we're also quite dumb at times, because I think that we just look for things that reinforce our outlook. So we'll just look for more bad things if the market's crap, and we'll look for more great things when the market's doing really well. And things move in cycles. And the Bitcoin halvening, when's the next halvening? 24?
2024,
does that coincide with an equities market pump? That's going to be something to really look out for. So I think for me, like, it almost doesn't matter, because I think if you take a proper risk management approach to all of this, you can't really go too wrong. And we've said it many times on the show. This is not financial advice, but this is what we're doing, which is dollar cost averaging into really good quality cryptos that we believe that are going to be around for the next decade. And I think if you're doing that through a bear market, you can't go too wrong. And if you're a pro trader, good on you. But my God, there's some choppy seas out there, and I don't want to be sailing in them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also just on your point, I mean, confirmation bias is absolutely a thing. And I follow a lot of really great traders and economists on Twitter, and it's funny to sort of watch them tumble one by one as they sort of, they start to spout the current bear market news, and sort of ditch their bullish outlook. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the bull market will return. When it returns is obviously yet to be seen. But building slowly through a bear market and building a good portfolio, dollar cost averaging into great positions, which we talk about all the time, is a pretty foolproof way to set yourself up ready for when the tides turn. Could it be next year? Potentially. I mean, I think what I'm seeing from sort of most analysts is that, we probably have got another year's worth of recession. But yeah, it will be interesting to see sort of when and how this changes. We get people like Greg Foss on the show that talks about this fiat debt spiral and about how the fiat system is going to collapse at some point. How many bull markets do we get within that time frame? And how long does this fiat system last? Because, if you've got a 50-year outlook before the US dollar eventually buckles under its own weight, then, theoretically we should have a couple of bull markets to play with. So, yeah.
In theory, I think there's just too much money on the sidelines from huge investors, very wealthy people, not to have a couple more cycles before we kind of see a different financial system. I mean, I don't want to go too much into the World Economic Forum stuff, but do remember that their agenda is that by 2030, you'll owe nothing and you'll be happy. So what does that mean exactly for capital markets? What does that mean for capitalism as we know it? What does that mean for fiat currencies? And I think we all know that central bank digital currencies are coming, and that big companies will be taking over a lot of smaller companies, either through acquisition or through market conditions. I think that's a good way to acquire businesses, is to let the smaller ones go bust and then gobble them up. So we're just preparing accordingly, because I think in 10 years, the world's going to look very different. And I'm not entirely sure that the type of opportunities that are available now to people will be available in the future. But I do think that the decentralized economy and the metaverse economy is going to be really great for a lot of people in a lot of countries. And I think what it can do, if it's done right, is create equal opportunities for people to get involved in business. Like if you're in a developing country in Africa, for example, and you've got access to a computer and you can learn some coding, it means that you can start building on this decentralized web. And it also means you can partake in some of these metaverse industries that I think are going to pop up. And like we didn't really realize with before the internet and with Web 1, Web 2 created a whole load of businesses off the back of it. And you only have to look at the amount of people that have built businesses off the back of things like Facebook ads, or have built businesses off the back of other social networks, or built businesses off the back of Amazon.
Yeah.
All of those things weren't there before, and everything in Web3 and the metaverse is yet to happen. So I think that's really exciting. So I don't want to be all doom and gloom about where the world's heading. I think it's just going to be different, and I think it's going to change, and I think it's going to potentially democratize the opportunity of entrepreneurship amongst more people, which I'm really pro for.
Yeah, it's exciting. You could actually draw a really interesting parallel between the World Economic Forum's line, by 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy, and the fact that augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverse technology will essentially be digital ownership of everything. I mean, you won't have any physical products. It'll be
living in a box, but you'll have a great computer and everything will be stored on your wallet, which is yours, So I don't, it's very easy to be very doom and gloom and very conspiratorial and just say the world's going down the toilet. But in reality, I think there's going to be a lot of really positive things that happen. And quite frankly, if more people in more countries have the opportunity to better themselves and grow, then great, And for too long, it's been developed countries that have just grown and grown and grown, and we haven't really seen. We're seeing incremental improvements in the developing world for sure, but not at the level that it could be. So, I'm a long-term sort of risk manager of my own. I think my own life is I look at all the different possibilities that could happen, and then, decide what's best in terms of like business and investing and what I'm going to do next. So it's important to look at all sides of the coin, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's lots to be optimistic about. And I think this new wave of technology will bring lots of opportunity for investors and for the sort of generations below us. I think it's definitely something to feel excited about at a time where things don't look great. And of course, as Greg said, the powers that be will keep the fiat system going for as long as they can using any method available. So, we talk about the collapse of the fiat debt system, but actually, that probably isn't imminent. We probably have some time.
No, I've actually started reading a new book. So I finished Layered Money by Nick Batia. I don't know if you've read that one. You've probably...
I haven't. I've got it, but I haven't read it.
It's really good. I did the audiobook actually because I'm a really slow reader and I just pop it on, on my headphones when I'm at the gym or if I'm in the car or something. And it's really good. It's, what? I think if you're into Bitcoin and you're part of the crypto community, it's essential that you understand how money works, and Layered Money is a really good insight into that. So finish that one. And then I was recommended another book by somebody else. So I'm only about 30 minutes through this from the audiobook, but I tweeted the author and then he retweeted me, which I thought was really cool. And then I asked him to come on the show. So this is a book called The Fiat Standard, which is a follow-up to the very famous book, The Bitcoin Standard. So in The Fiat Standard, world-renowned economist Safieddine Ammous applies his unique analytical lens to the fiat monetary system, explaining it as a feat of engineering and technology, just as he did for Bitcoin in his global bestseller, The Bitcoin Standard. This time, he delves into the world's earliest shift from the gold standard on today's system of government-backed fiat money, outlining the fiat standard's purposes and failures, deriving the wider economic, political, and social implications of its use, and examining how Bitcoin will affect it over time. So, having only got 30 minutes through this, I can't tell you too much about it, but the general theme of the book seems to be about how Bitcoin can work with fiat. And I kind of touched on this with Greg Foss, and he said, well, that's a really optimistic viewpoint that fiat will be around forever. And then Bitcoin will kind of solve the problem because, it can be a higher layer of money, if you like, a bit like gold was. So I would encourage everybody to pick this book up as well. I find in the Bitcoin space in particular, there is so much hate for fiat and like wanting the destruction of fiat currencies and to go on the Bitcoin standard. However, what are the effects of doing that? And is that going to make the world a better place? Probably not. No. I understand this pushback on things like CBDCs. I totally get that. But if Bitcoin can be used to support the fiat system in some way, that might just be the safest way to solve some of the problems that we see now. So that's my book recommendation for the week. Oh, we stopped the weird world of crypto because we thought we'd get a little bit more serious on the show and try and help more people. And we were having some light-hearted fun in the bull market. But now maybe actually doing a weekly book recommendation would put a lot of pressure on me to read a lot of stuff. But maybe every time that we pick something up and we can share it with our listeners, because people that don't understand crypto and Bitcoin always say to me, what should I buy? And I'm like, I don't know. That's your decision. I'm not a financial advisor and you need to decide on your own what to do. And then I say, do you know what money is? And they sort of give me a vague answer. And I'll say, do you know how money works and how it's made? And do you understand how the current global economic system works? And most people don't, and that's understandable. So I always say start with that. Don't actually start with Bitcoin and crypto and Web3, because otherwise, you have no context for it and it doesn't really make sense. Because if you say to somebody, hey, Bitcoin, it's digital gold, it's a decentralized digital currency that's borderless, permissionless, and has all of these attributes, they're like, okay, great. Well, isn't that just used by money launderers so people can get around governments? And it's like, you can't conceptualize the importance of it until you know what the problem is that it's solving. So I would highly recommend that if you really do understand this stuff, you get people to understand more about the current monetary system. And I've I never answer the question, which crypto should I buy? Because that's not for me to give them that information. That's up to them to decide, really. And, unfortunately, people just want a quick 2-minute answer so they can make some money. And that's just a really bad approach. If you're serious about generating generating or protecting wealth, then you need to learn this stuff. I don't think it's optional unless you want to be living off CBDCs. And I know it's hard and I know it's not fair, but life isn't fair. So best thing you can do, start businesses, start cash flowing assets, invest wisely, and understand how this stuff works. And I really wish I'd done that 10, 15 years ago, rather than really understanding it the last few years over this podcast, because my God, I would have made some much better decisions. So, but it's never too late.
Yeah. I always have interesting conversations with people that talk to me because they know that we have this podcast. They know that I invest in crypto. And I often find myself trying to explain the difference between Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. I think in some respects, I've probably become a Bitcoin maxi in the last few years, and sort of understanding the properties of Bitcoin and how that really is a great hedge against the collapsing fiat system. But then I always get asked, well, what about the rest of the cryptos? Aren't there thousands of them? What do they all do? What's the purpose of them? And for me, I actually see it as a real mixed bag. Some of them are utility tokens, some of them are securities, some of them are investments in ecosystems, but they don't do the same thing as Bitcoin. They aren't meant to have a proof of work system that is a fixed supply that cannot be inflated. It's meant to, that is meant to be a scarce digital asset. Most other cryptos, especially the ones in the top 20, are designed to be sort of decentralized supercomputers in effect. And I think that that's a really important distinction to make. And depending on what you are trying to achieve by entering in this market will sort of lead the way that you invest. If you're looking to invest to sort of hedge against the fiat system and thinking about retirement, then probably Bitcoin is where you want to be putting your money. If you're looking to make short-term gains, then there are probably plenty of better options in that sort of coin market cap table. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think if I'd have known this stuff maybe 10 years ago, when I was sort of blindly buying Bitcoin without really understanding the properties or the reason for it, then I think I probably would have bought more. Yeah,
I think you would have. However, I think even if you did understand it, I speak for myself here actually, because I catch myself. I'm like, oh, should I buy some more Bitcoin? And then what if it goes down? And I'm like, Kevin, what are you on about? It's like that. What is your time horizon? And is having Bitcoin better than having money in the bank? Yes. Do you need that money now? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. Well, it should just buy Bitcoin and put it on a hardware wallet or something really safe. Not particularly a fan of these custodial services at the moment until I find something that I think is really outstanding. Honestly, I think that's the best 10-year bet ever. And like Greg Foss said, it's like just get off zero. Like not having any is terrible risk management. So you got to think for yourself, of course. But that's my perspective anyway on things.
I think it's a very fair perspective. And of course, on the show, we get the opportunity to speak to great thought leaders in the space. And I find myself being educated with each episode. So yeah, we've had some brilliant guests this year and some great guests planned for the rest of the year. Hoping to get some additional perspectives.
Yeah, should we quickly just update everybody on what our plan is for the podcast for the remainder of the year, some of the guests that are coming up, some of the topics that we're going to cover?
Yes, definitely.
So we're recording this one on Friday, the 9th of September, and it will go out on Saturday, the 10th of September, 2022. And then we're going to be pre-recording some shows on Sunday, aren't we? Because
we are.
I'm away for a couple of weeks and then you're away, and actually, September's a bit of a crazy month for us, so we're getting some episodes in the bank that are going to deliver some enormous value. So what have we got coming up?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think next week we are releasing an episode on Bitcoin, the Lightning Network.
Yeah, that's going to be a great one.
That's going to be a really good one. It's a question I get asked a lot. What is the Lightning Network? How does the payment system work? Why can't we use Bitcoin's layer 1 as a payment system? All really good and valid questions, and we're going to deep dive into that a little bit more. We've also got an episode coming up about El Salvador and El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin. Lots of people see that as a project. How has it worked for El Salvador? How has it impacted their economy and their relationship with the IMF? So again, another really interesting episode, and something which I know that both of us follow quite closely, and sort of keen to see that work.
Yeah, and we've also got some big guest interviews. In fact, you got confirmation from somebody yesterday, didn't you, that they're going to come on the show, yet to fix a date exactly, but
I did. I'm not going to name them in the show today, but they're another big guest. They're another huge guest, and somebody with a really, really interesting perspective on Bitcoin and the fiat system.
Okay, and then we've got the Algorand Foundation coming on towards the end of the month, which will be released early October. So we've changed some of these weekly episodes around because we get feedback all the time from people that listen to the show. And at the moment, I don't think we particularly need a weekly update on the macro backdrop and what the crypto market's doing. But I think this is a time to double down on our knowledge, which helps inform our decision making in the future. So that's why we've picked some really interesting topics, and we try and plan these out as well as possible. So if you've got any ideas of topics that you want us to cover or things that you want to know, then drop us a message on Twitter. The Cryptopulse Twitter is always looked at daily, so you can inbox us there or at us. Probably the best thing, because we get so many DMs that are spam. We don't want to miss anything good. So really excited to do these episodes and bring some extra value to you this month and into October. So I think that's all for this week, isn't it? It's been really nice to have a good chat, good catch up, get a few things off our chest, and share our views on what we think is going to happen for the remainder of this calendar year and going into next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Catch you soon.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. It would mean the world to us if you could leave a review wherever you're listening. This really does help and allows other people to find us online. You can keep up to date with new releases of the podcast by subscribing and following us on Twitter or Instagram for the latest crypto-related news. Information provided by Cryptopulse via this podcast, website, social media channels, and any other medium does not constitute financial advice, investment recommendations, or any other type of advice whatsoever. The Cryptopulse team are not professional financial advisors. Trading and purchasing cryptocurrencies do carry risks, and anybody wishing to partake in such activities should seek professional advice.